I pity the fool.
Read Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Every battle is won before it's ever fought. Think about it.
We are sitting on top of the first super cycle in nearly 20 years. In the future, people are going to turn around and look at this upcoming market that's about to unfold as we speak, and they're going to say, you remember the 2024 crypto cycle? Just like they're doing now with the .com phase. So everybody's in right now. We are extremely early, and we've got a special treasure trove for everybody in today's video, where we're going to actually go back in time to the prior bull market top. And from this, we can start to get an idea and concepts of the type of projects that are going to be unfolding. Because I can assure you this, for anybody who saw the last bull run, it will completely reshape. As soon as the run-up period has happened, Bitcoin's at 150,000 to 250,000, depending on if we get this super cycle, which we're about to go over the details in a moment. It's very cut and dry. This entire concept of super cycles, for one, the popularity of crypto, for two, BlackRock has a lot of vested interest right now in cryptocurrency, not just because they have money on the line, but they're looking to get into the tokenization of all digital assets, from making these shareholder meetings that as retail we don't know about, but the investment banking class knows everything about. They want to get this all done just like a DAO. The governance done on blockchain just for simplification. So right now you have that added effect of first impressions. And if we can understand this as retail traders, we can bet our bottom dollar that BlackRock is already on top of this. For everybody in the Kaspa community, heads up if you haven't heard, the Kraken listing is official. It's going down. Unrestricted trading fully unleashes on Tuesday. This is a step in the right direction, and for everybody who is just fudding Kaspa, saying, oh, we're going to crash, we're going down to 7 cents, let's quickly sell our Kaspa. We feel your losses, but your losses are our gains. This is a zero-sum equation. The monetary policy attached to this super cycle gearing up that Elon Musk is getting ready to spearhead. We're going to cover all the details of what these guys are going to do, how much influence the DOGE, this is the Department of Government Efficiency, and what they're going to do is cut down on government fiscal spending. This will help the FOMC reduce rates without affecting inflation so much, thus creating more of a bull cycle. And we'll get into the formula of what DOGE is about to do, as well as the exact equation that leads to a super cycle, which will different from a normal cycle. For anybody who's not trading with monetary policy yet, you need to incorporate this into your entire bag. As we can see right here, February 20th, 2020, these are the one-year treasury bonds. As the government gets rid of this liquidity, this is Tesla. Hence Elon Musk's interest in taking part and helping this super cycle unroll, because it won't just be for crypto. Although there is a focus on crypto, as we can see by the pseudonym DOGE, this is Tesla. February 10th, 2021, of course, the Bitcoin top almost simultaneously. GameStop, January 28th. Actually, this is a buy order that I made. I was part of Roaring Kitty's VIP group, adding on to my position that I picked up at the earnings report in GameStop. That buy was right here, right before this monster rocket ship. I originally joined his VIP group just as a gag. I thought his videos were funny and I wanted to just hang out with other guys that were in GameStop. What he unloaded on us, this guy actually went to school for the economy, so he understands this bond market, the treasury securities, the FOMC balance sheet. This is a very simplified way of looking at it, right? You get the run-up, delayed reaction, and then once they start hiking rates, and this is very important, November 2021, that's the end of the party. As you can see on Bitcoin right there, they're raising rates, signaling for everybody to withdraw their money in the investment banking class, because these guys are working hand in hand. This is crypto's big moment. And once we understand this monetary policy and how it functions on the total three, as soon as they started saying, yes, we're going to cut rates and we're going to hold them down for a long period of time. This is step one into what a super cycle looks like. Right now, they're just doing a crypto cycle. They just verified and said 100%. Yes, we're going to have a run up and then we're going to have a distribution phase from these two tops here. This is, of course, off the last cycle. And this market will completely re-terraform once the run up happens.
I don't throw darts at a board. I bet on sure things.
This is exactly what the investment banking class does. So they need this information from the FOMC before they're going to go ahead and pull the trigger. And we can see this clearly on the Kaspa chart correlated with FOMCs. This is no coincidence. This is investment bankers pigging out on their Kaspa right now. From applying monetary policy and a greater understanding, looking even beyond on-chain dynamics, we've been able to get the most amazing price predictions and performance inside our group, not buying Kaspa when all the Peach Fuzz Mafia was all throughout here. Even at this dip, they were saying it's time to load up. I remember regular Archie, not Archie type, was like, this is it, we got to go for it. And I was like, no, we got something coming here. Using our repeating trendline systems, cryptos different from stocks. This having an emission schedule, it creates repeating trend lines. We're talking about fundamentals here, but this is an amazing concept for people who are avid charters or beginners. It's very easy. Once you know this trend line, it repeats constantly over and over again, as you can see on Kaspa. This is just the same trend line establishing downward price channels. And just recently, we've broken out of it. But knowing that we were getting a shift into this distribution phase, we started pulling the trigger on DeFi projects like Moonwell. This is a symmetrical triangle on Alex Becker pick, Desync, Destra. Since then, it's went to like 32, 33 at one point. The MEXC listing. Now, this is very correlated with Kaspa. This is for DEAI, which is starting to break out right now. All of these projects we just looked at, these were top swing trades. And we have videos where we actually compared these to all the best meme coins going into portfolio diversification, mathematical concepts, things of this nature. These are the 24-point gem lists. We have full reports, except for Moonwell because it's a DeFi project, although this was highlighted on our rate cut watch list. Look at the gains that these have had over the past 3 months. And of course, using our repeating trendline system, we've crushed everybody. There's nobody online who's gotten the upside that our VIP group has, focusing on these projects, and we have a deep understanding of them. Each report is like 8 or 9 pages. These are all focused in what sector? AI. Removing Moonwell from it, these are all AI. Aether, largest GPU mining across the board. So huge, and it's a great vetting system, no stone unturned. Stop thinking that we can do it in our head and start relying on systems. Good question. Because right now, everything's been seeing upside, right? We've got continued upside on multiple projects. These were some of our theories for purchasing on Kaspa once the downside was taking place. Originally, our repeating trendline system had revealed to us that this trendline that keeps repeating here, here, notice how we broke above it, and this is the exact same trend line acting as resistance. Here we broke above, so it's just kind of bringing everything into balance that we broke below. We had established this as going to be a buy zone, looking for a bounce off the top of it. All right here is just extra discount. This is always good to go. And there's also this that almost nobody talked about, the gamma squeeze. Here's the Binance listing. Because they opened futures there, which seems really strange, you've got this automatic support at 10. And they did the same thing on Bitcoin with Coinbase. So we're out of the gravitational field right now on Kaspa, looking bullish. And we have some trading plans for altcoins inside of VIP. Here's something that we can start to break down right now. Before we jump into this Dogecoin thing, this has to do with monetary policy as well. This arrow is pointing directly to the next FOMC meeting. Now, everybody in VIP knows there's a surprise during this December meeting. And we've got to factor, if this surprise goes through, how it can affect the market and what its variance could be. But it's looking like we just broke above this massive resistance right around 780 trillion. Oftentimes when you have strong resistance, it will flip into support. And so there could be a pause in growth up into the next FOMC meeting, depending on whether the FOMC... Oh, thank you. Whoops. Depending on whether the FOMC is going to cut rates or not in December, this is an enormous catalyst. And it's something that we definitely focus on inside of our group, because FOMC policy, this is what will lead to the super cycle. This guy right here, every time you see him on television, we want to pay attention and we want to understand all the details of what he's talking about. And these details are exactly what Elon Musk is doing with his new Dogecoin setup. So Elon Musk, just to give some history, he has some massive beef with the SEC. So he wants Gary Gensler fired, and he wants less regulation because he got in some problems because he did a tweet one day saying that Tesla was going to go to $420 per share. And they didn't like that. So he had to step down, pay some fines. It was no good. For some of you who don't understand Satoshi's secret, who haven't joined our VIP or don't know how to correlate what's going on in FOMC, some of this might slide over your head, but it's all pretty basic. So Elon Musk in the Department of DOGE can significantly support the FOMC. Here's how. reducing the government deficit, which is what their primary goal is. This supports the FOMC's ability to implement dovish policies like rate cuts. For any of you guys who are in the total dark, the reason why the market just went up really high right here is because they cut rates. They initiated a rate cut cycle, which, by the way, has been delayed. It was supposed to take place here. Hence, we saw this massive downside. And also, when Satoshi designed Bitcoin, he ensured that every time we get a rate cut cycle, looking at the prior cycle, it's rate cuts here, Bitcoin halving here, somewhere around April, in there somewhere. So they're supposed to go hand in hand. This time, it was actually the halving that went first, and then the rate cuts, which is just showing how the Fed was behind the power curve, the timeline off of where they should be on rate cuts. It's very important and part of this super cycle. A super cycle doesn't mean it's going to last all the way to the next halving. It means, well, we'll get into what it means in a moment. There's the factor of increased confidence makes for more capital inflow. This plays hand in hand with the entire BlackRock, and this is crypto's debut, baby. This is it. This is opening night at the box office. Siskel and Ebert are giving it certified fresh, okay? And that's the rating that they're going for. This is it. This is what people are going to remember about crypto is right now. It's this cycle, not the last one. That was some quasi ultra nerd thing. Right now, we are super nerds. We are a very few. But, and as we're going to and about to jump into, once the run up takes place, this is the run up directly correlated to bond markets. Run up a year later, and then you have this whole year of it held down. This is a simplified version. We open up other charts and explain the quantitative easing, the Fed's balance sheet. This just simplifies it. It's all connected together. On the total 3, this is where you can really see the distribution. So that's the run up. That's when Tesla, GameStop, and Bitcoin all hit the peak. That's February 20th. Bonk, bonk, bonk. It's all the same. Because of the bonds, because this added liquidity, the government, the fiat game, they're playing Monopoly, they're trying to control inflation just by holding all the paper money. They're like, we've got it all. It doesn't really exist. And then they put it back out on the street. The super cycle is where they put it all on the street and it's already bullish. Like, we'll get into that in a second. But so this is the run up, and then this is distribution. And what we're about to break down is what starts to come out and what's going to happen into distribution. We're using Tech Hustler and Tactical Investing, makes great Kaspa content. These guys just got into a fight, and guess who won? The Kaspa guy. So way to represent Tactical Investing in their karate match. Enhanced liquidity. Efficient government spending frees up resources for economic growth, such as infrastructure and tech, encouraging innovation. Here's key for the side bags. Somebody was asking earlier, Dave was asking, hey, what should we get right now? And I'm going to tell you what we should get. Even though it's on a breakout to the upside, this, let me zoom in here to make that more readable. Okay. With Elon Musk's focus on innovation and efficiency, DOGE, as in the Department of Government Efficiency, not the coin, will support policies that focus on growth and emerging technologies like AI and blockchain, plus renewable energy. By the way, Kaspa with the KII, this is directly up its alley. And this is what artificial intelligence has gathered from its free thinking search. It built this model for us to go over. AI is exactly where we should go. Looking at our 24-point checklist, these are AI plans. we have details on what they're all about. These are going to supersonic rocket under the right market conditions. And they're building those market conditions right now. The key here is it helps fight inflation, because as they efficiently reduce government spending, lower inflation gives the FOMC more flexibility. And now we're getting to Musk's involvement in this DOGE encourages a broader adaptation of cryptocurrencies and viable tools for government efficiency. What they're saying in conclusion here, and this is what it all goes down to, this is the real bread and butter. We're going to have to bring up a whole new chart for this. Right here. This is the quantitative easing. It's very similar to this, and this is showing the FOMC balance sheet. That means this is looking into their account and the monopoly money. The way they control inflation is with bonds. That means that they're holding the money and they just pay a little bit of yield out. So when the government turns around and starts buying bonds, what that does is it gives BlackRock, Jane Street, all the boss investment banker payers who have been pigging out on Kaspa as soon as they get their hands on new FOMC data. This is a direct correlation with the investment banking class buying Kaspa at each one of those arrows. So as soon as the government goes into what's called quantitative easing, right now they're doing the exact opposite. Right now they're doing quantitative tightening. A beat, they are slowing it down substantially. See this curve? They were doing it steep, and now it's going at more of a plateau. Multiple economic resources have cited that by Q1 of 2025, it will plateau. And that alone is enough to instigate the bull run, paired up with lower rates. So the FOMC continues to cut rates. They get them down to around 3%. Of course, Trump, they want to get it down to 0. But with the whole quantitative tightening stopping, that's enough to instigate the bull market. And this added liquidity is where it's coming from. Here's how a super cycle goes down. What artificial intelligence is talking about here is how Bitcoin has been seeing some growth. By mid-2025, economists are speculating it's $150,000. And the monetary policy behind that we just covered, just by halting quantitative tightening. Now, here's the kick. This is when it goes from a regular everyday super cycle,
flawless victory,
to a total rocket ship, just a regular cycle to super cycle. In parallel, the FOMC has been adjusting its monetary policy stance. Recent discussions indicate a potential shift towards easing measures, including interest rates cuts and quantitative easing. What that means is this arrow, like it did right here around February of 2020, exactly when rate cuts happened, the government's going to buy back all the bonds that BlackRock, Jane Street, all the big dogs, all the VCs own. They're going to turn around, and to protect it from inflation, they're going to stick it into various risk-on assets. And we're talking from Tesla to Bitcoin to Kaspa to artificial intelligence. All of crypto is going to supersonic rocket. No moon boy hype. This is all real detailed accounting. Of course, they have to do quantitative easing. for this to go down. And they do it, and it's over. It's game over. We're stacked to the gills. So, something to think about. So in order to get an accurate price prediction, we need to do a price model. And we already covered a lot of what goes into that model, so it'll be very easy for us to build on top of it. It all depends on what the FOMC does. Anyone who's telling you, I know the exact price prediction right now, it's impossible. Because what if the FOMC decides to take the path of quantitative easing? What if they decide all of a sudden, oh, bull run's over, we're going to do quantitative tightening, we're going to raise the interest rates? It's all in their hands. And economists will go through and they'll break down all the numbers that are behind rate cuts, like the jobs data, supply chain dynamics, things along this. All of these lagging indicators, they're called. So right now, the big focus is on unemployment. So hopefully, from our perspective, the FOMC will get bad jobs data for December. That will instigate more rate cutting because they need to let some of their monopoly money out of their bankroll and back onto the street so they can make jobs. You seeing how this is working? You can go to college for this, but we only need to know enough to trade off of it. And once you do, that's when you start catching these wing dingers, these super bangers. We're doing basic technical analysis, nothing too fancy. We do use the repeating trendline system, which is cool. We'll get into later if we have time. But we're stacking all of it together. And the missing catalyst that everybody isn't using is this, because the last cycle was just so bullish. You're talking 0% rates with massive quantitative easing. So nobody even paid attention to monetary policy. But for anyone who's been trading in stocks over decades, it's a much more hands-on activity because it matters. So to get the accurate price prediction, I'll give you the whole model. And then as this new information starts to unfold, we can adjust it accordingly. And it's all based on the prior cycle. So when Bitcoin hit its peak, we'll just call it $1 trillion. So it's a round number, save us some calculations, right around 70K. These are the all-time high market caps, and they typically happen, as we just showed on this, after the run-up. So Bitcoin will peak first on February 20th, as all this bond information and stuff starts rolling into the market. But then the altcoins will take longer, and we're about to jump into what's going to go down in altcoin world. As we can see right here, there's the run up, and then they bloom later. So everybody doesn't pay attention to this because it was the perfect storm. Nothing mattered. They didn't need to look at it. And one of the reasons why so many of the bright creators have been losing, not making money, making mistakes, or their picks have been going straight up sideways is because they're not using this. In our VIP, a swing trade that we take that doesn't break out in 45 days from one FOMC to another, and that's a fail. You know what I mean? We're trying to target them as they're growing. It helps maximize capital. Anyway, these are all the other peaks. They happen after. And what we're seeing here is a ratio that's about 10% on the high end with Cardano, Solana, Dogecoin. Then once you get to Polkadot and Litecoin, you're somewhere around 2.5%. So if we get Bitcoin to 150,000, we're sitting around a $3 trillion. Thus, altcoins in the lowest are going to be getting 2% of that, which is around 60. If it does as bad as Matic, which was one of the lowest performing top tier coins, if it does as poorly as Matic, it will be 60 billion market cap from here. And then the higher range up here. Some of this also has to do with on-chain dynamics. We need the Kaspa smart contracts. I have a contact inside of the KII who has been releasing information into our group specifically. One of the Kaspa team members joined our VIP. I think they were intrigued by the repeating trendline system and they wanted to check it out. So we got the all clear from KII. And they told us this. They can't come out and state this officially. They have to do it through word of mouth. There's 2 teams that actively have proposals on the table to connect Kaspa to the Ethereum virtual machine. To help put this into concepts, with Solana's massive breakout that they just recently happened, it was caused by Solana connecting to the Ethereum virtual machine. During the last cycle top, Solana was hooked up to native smart contracts. Jonathan Saplinski's designing those right now. Right around here, they hooked up to Ethereum virtual machine this spring and then just went rocketing like May. So connecting to the Ethereum virtual machine has been a massive catalyst for Solana, ripping to the upside. And we have a trading plan for Solana. That's render right here. Seeing that this was an identical similar pattern to the total 3 with a falling wedge, buy zone right around 130. So good application of technical analysis to everything. So we're easy 2%, depending on how much of these smart contracts get laid out. 10%. And let's not forget about the quantitative easing super cycle, which will just add more fuel to this fire. Instead of Bitcoin being at 3 trillion, Bitcoin could go to 4 trillion, 4.5. Could get really big. And so that's the model. And of course, we have technical analysis outlines to help us start to understand how high the breakout will be, the breakout stage. Looking at AVAX on the last cycle, this is a great example of, so here's that breakout date. Right there. The run-up, February 20th, for AVAX happened on the 10th, and then look at what happens after. We get this massive downside. The sell-off. We termed this heartbreak alley. And it's something that investors want to be aware of. For one, the psychological pressure of our bags potentially seeing a sell-off before they make an even larger double to triple peak. So we might want to start taking profits to reinvest early back here, at least to a portion. And that brings us to the coup d'etat, which is what's about to come. We are the super early nerds. We're in before everybody else, so we got to give ourselves a clap, a pat on the back. Even if you're just jumping into the market right now, you are super early because everybody else, the normies, the stock investors, your buddies that are trading sports books and playing cards, they're going to jump over and get in on some of these actions after the run-up happens. It's going to be all over the news. Everything's going super flying to the upside. We got to make this money. Everyone's going to come on board, and they do. This is the thing. The dynamics of the market will completely change. And to answer Dave's question from the beginning, what projects should we be getting?
Exciting now.
We want to get projects that are going to experience the most upside from the distribution phase. Like gremlins, you add water to them, they multiply. Once you throw this liquidity onto the market, particular projects will explode in growth. Kaspa, obviously, this is like a kaiju of gremlins. With the whole talk of the gigawatt stablecoin, their connections to the European energy trading, their actual use case can be phenomenally bullish. But let's start talking about altcoins. Some of the reasons why these picks are in the 24-point checklist. Spectral, 01, Destra. Their narrative, their use case, let's start with Desync. This is an Ethereum naming service. So as the bull run takes place, as everybody starts jumping into crypto, they can give their web pages a customized web address. So as these secondary layer of markets come on, this gets tons of action, which means we got to actually backtrack some more. We're early. We're ahead of ourselves. We've got to get into this vault of information right now. What was going on 3 years ago? I know this just as good as these guys. I'm going to show you why. I've got all these miners, these goofy Ponzinomics schemes from the last cycle. I was in on GameStop with Roaring Kitty, learning about economics in the bond market, what was actually fueling this monster run-up. GameStop, Bitcoin, Tesla, it all happened at the exact same time, altcoins included. And then, just like we were talking about, coming over from the stock market, let's check out crypto, right? We got our profits from GameStop. We're sitting pretty. We're about to move into $1 million condo on the Vegas Strip. We're just having a blast. And this is what's going to come out, because the next round of investors, they're not stupid. They're not just going to buy the top of Bitcoin, bro. They're not. It's absolutely not going to go down. What's going to happen is these gremlin type projects, they are getting built on top of. Using AVAX for an example, right here is when they started opening Trader Joe, which is another factor for why Kaspa is so ahead of the game right now, because they already did the KRC20 inscriptions. So they're steps ahead of this cycle, which shows that they have funding, which shows that they have people that are backing them who are important. Once Trader Joe opens up, now here it comes. Here comes the degen specialists. Now, these come in many different forms because one of the primary factors that fuels the bull run is greed. People get into cryptocurrency because they want to make money. They'll come in late and they'll say, I'm going to find a new listing, something very special that nobody's bought yet. And this is where the term DeFi, degen, and how crypto itself got a bad name for Ponzinomics. What we're looking at here is one of the granddaddies of all Ponzinomics. And they coined the term nodes as a service. This is not a real node. They do stake some Ethereum, but that's not where the money's coming from. It's just a complex Ponzinomics. Sometimes they'll just be a blatant Ponzi scheme with a twist. So this was a Ponzi scheme where you buy the NFTs and in 100 days, you get all your money back and then it's just profit from there. So everybody's like running around, just like meme coin mania. They're like, buy this meme coin, buy this NFT project. And of course, in the beginning, they only allow you to buy one because they don't want the heavy investors getting too big because they know they need different layers. A way that you can cut around this when this is happening, if you guys want to get involved in DeFi degen, open multiple wallets. They were doing this with some of the KRC20 memes. You could only buy X amount on certain projects. Just open more than one wallet. And then you can get in on the Ponzi scheme at the bottom with more weight. Anyway, these happened across the board. And people made bank off of it, off Strong Block. This chart edges way back. And what happened was people just piled in. It had like a run up here. They kept piling in, and then it went just absolutely rocketing. And it's a Ponzi scheme, so it just went into obliteration. And they'll always try to hide it as a game, hide it as a node as a service, or hide it as a miner. and what tactical investing was going over, and he would be upfront about it. He's a solid dude. He's not going to try to pull a Sepral on you, right? He'll tell you these are Ponzi schemes, but we're going to do them because we're in first. Just like straight up, let's do some Ponzi schemes. And all of these, even helium, you guys have heard of HNT helium miners, obviously in this tower, great spot to put a helium miner. There was Ponzinomic elements to the original helium miner launches. There was like over 1 million of these hotspots. And every time you had to onboard one, you had to pay a $10 fee in HNT. So this is something that's going to start piling in. It's going to start becoming the narrative that everybody's going for, whether it's NFTs, whether it's these plug and play miners. These get going and they get built on top of the already existing chains that are taking place right now. For 0-1, their entire narrative, their entire use case, we have a 24-point report written on this. It's the price of some chicken wings takeout. And you get everything we've got inside of the VIP, connecting all of our trading to FOMC. It's super good stuff. But these guys have built a project that's specifically designed to facilitate growth during the bull run, exploding to the upside. They're going to be launching all these new projects. And when we start looking at IDO watch lists, projects that aren't out right now, but they'll be coming, we see a lot of narratives of SoFi. Part of this is because of government regulation, which was supposed to help eliminate these Ponzi projects, but Gary Gensler went rogue and he decided to just go straight after the layer ones, which was completely ridiculous. This is a great tool to use, by the way, Crypto Rank. What we're looking at is projects that are not listed. Thus, these projects will start coming on chain during the bull market. Some of them absolutely. Here's a great example of one. Open. It's an AI project. What do? It's like a mid-journey print on demand. So you just one-stop shopping, you go ahead and make whatever logo you want. A lot of these other projects are incorporating social media. So let's say that you've got some ice cream stand or you teach yoga, you're a house painter, and you're on Twitter in your local area looking to get more business. A lot of these are facilitated into social media to help generate more action, to help people make money concretely utilizing cryptocurrency. So that's a big narrative that's up and coming. That's absolutely going to start turning some heads. This bull run will be phenomenal. Next level stuff. They've even coined it. This is a real thing that's going to be inside the White House, guys. And it's named after a cryptocurrency. Just kind of underlining, dude, it's on. It is on. Right now is a great time to get your friends and family involved in crypto. Hook them up, get them a Tangem wallet. It's super safe and easy to use, and help them out. Help them get some crypto and put it on a Tangem, because they're going to want it once this kicks off. Projects that are getting ready to break out right now, DEAI is getting ready to break out. I have some dry powder I'm going to be administering into DEAI because this is getting ready to rocket. Of course, we want to wait for pullbacks sufficiently, and we just had a nice retrace on the 4-hour. This one's looking super bullish, just forming another new high with this recent swing low right here. And we can see this and track this on this indicator known as stochastics. Right here, we got this beautiful stochastic downswing on the 1 day. So we had this great stochastic downswing. That's the go time to scoop this up. And now we're nearing a stochastic peak. So that's a quasi zone. Looking at Kaspa, Kaspa's a great project to get in right now. There is key, and I heard Red Pill talking about this resistance level right here. Let's hone in on what's going on. Just to get everybody up to speed with what these lines on the chart are all about, these are repeating trend lines. Crypto, different from the stock market, has these strict emission and halving schedules. Therefore, its charts, its assets perform completely differently. On top of the fact that they almost all move in tandem, hence the fact that on the total 3 right now, we see a cup and handle pattern, right? Cup, handle. When we look around various cryptocurrencies, we see similar patterns, particularly this falling wedge, which we utilized in the Solana trades. This is the desync one, but you can see this trend line repeating. The first model of it was here. Back when we were originally charting Kaspa, we were looking for this trend line to pick up again. Right around here, it made a symmetrical triangle. Of course, the FOMC steps in. What do? Hike. They hike the rates. This means downside. Symmetrical triangle breaks to the downside, finds support, bouncing off this line. Now we know it's a go. We squeeze the trigger. We had just been shorting AVAX off of that FOMC upside. Because the FOMC raised rates, we knew to the day, to the dollar, AVAX is going to crash. They also had a token unlock. And of course, right then we did. So we took $12,500. That's the amount that it takes to enter into a poker game. You guys remember from the intro? Just to prove how easy it is to make $1 million in crypto when you understand what I learned from Hello Kitty, what we're teaching to everybody inside VIP. I joined his group as a gag, and it changed my life. I was already in GameStop, but I learned a lot more of why I was in GameStop that I didn't know. Right here, FOMC raises rates. AVAX chart looks almost identical as right here, May 3rd. We get in, it starts downside. We start with a good chunk of change in. We go all in right here. Jane and Jump Street completely liquidate their entire Robinhood cryptocurrency holding. It's a bloodbath. Everybody was saying this was bullish, which makes no sense. And these are the guys that did not correlate FOMC data to crypto because the last cycle was just too bullish. They've never had to correlate monetary policy, and therefore they don't even understand the concept of what a super cycle looks like. Meanwhile, look at Kaspa. It's actually finding support all during that bloodbath, had a bit of downside, but when that second leg happened, it was finding support, which showed us as Jane and Jump Street were taking money out of their legacy cryptos, putting it into this. Looking back in hindsight, it's as clear as day because we know Marathon Digital started mining Kaspa right here. Therefore, guess who's buying it right here and all these other FOMC meetings? The big dogs who have their own MIT versions of 24-point reports. So that's the y-axis support. That flips around and becomes resistance. So to help us correlate where the candle's price was going, you can zoom back and watch these videos on our old uploads. We put the Fibonacci tool exactly here. The golden pocket lining up. It's the most contact points. Peak here, peak here. To help us correlate the handle. What happens when we fast forward, bada bing, it flipped into voila, resistance. Absolutely. And we have rogue versions of this y-axis support that we're taking into account that play into the KRC20 drop-off. We also got the 10x leverage trade right here, which was super sick. Anyway, right here is another variation of this y-axis support. And there's actually two of them. One of them from the bottom of this head, and this is a very key level, the Bank of Japan carry wick low, which we had originally hypothesized was going to be around Kaspa's low point. We originally hypothesized it would be here in these original downside plays. But right now, we're on top of it. And let's look at two different variations of this. Let's look at this one, then we'll look at a bit higher with this level and this acting as resistance, which is around the shoulders of this head and shoulder. And we're kind of catching some of the DOGE here and then the January breakout. Okay, so we've got these two lines set up. Now let's zoom in and take a closer look. So we're starting to establish some upside, but this is one of the crucial levels that we want to get on top of, and it comes with a parallel line as well. This is the big downfall from the KRC20 inscriptions. Getting on top of these is massive breakout, and we have multiple levels of support. Here on the gravitational field, knowing that this x-axis, very similar to the y-axis, we get these x-axis resistance trend lines. And you can do Fibonacci pitches that line up just as incredibly as the last one we showed you. And we got videos on how to do this on every single crypto. Let's check it out on Tau, because Tau usually correlates more heavily with DEAI than it is right now, because Tau's actually looking bearish. So we clone this Fibonacci pitch. We'll show you where we got it from in a second. Right here in VIP, we upload this. Bounces off golden pocket, right? Resistance, resistance, support, resistance. Pretty neat. Where'd we get that from anyway? It's the exact same Fibonacci channel. This is how powerful this system is. It works on every crypto. You will make not just good predictions, spooky predictions with this. Spooky. Some of the stuff we do is spooky. So looking at these x-axis resistance lines, look at that. And this is a great system. Whatever you're using for charting right now, SMA 50s, Emochi's Cloud, you augmentate it with this, because this trend lines are the skeleton of every charting system. There's already other groups that have traded in ours for months, and they're like, well, we're going out on our own to do our own version of the repeating trend line system. So this is awesome stuff. While we're on Tau, what do we got right here for classic patterns, right? We're seeing a very clear head and shoulders. Let's look at our classic pattern directory so we can compare this to some of the other ones that have been happening. So this is just like a book that you would get in Barnes & Noble. This is the total 3 chart showing a head and shoulders. This is GFAL. We were actually advising everybody to sell GFAL back here on the right shoulder. And during the BOJ carry trade, we cited this head and shoulders, which Kaspa's been making a lot of. We're actually talking about Tau right now. Kaspa was making a lot of these head and shoulders, and what it's showing is just the psychology of the market. It's not geometry. It's showing the buyers are in control. They're making a higher high, a new peak, and then they're failing to make a third consecutive peak, which means the sellers are in control and the buyers aren't going to be empowered until there's more downside. Now we can combine this with the x-axis system, and this is where you get from good trading to crystal ball level stuff. I mean, this is good system. And of course, we've got videos and we correlate it with all of our trading posts, applications of the system. So these are those x-axis trend lines on Kaspa. This is how we knew to a certainty. And I remember everybody was emailing me because the Peach Fuzz Mafia was like, dude, you got to buy Kaspa right now. It's going to break out on KRC20. And we were like,
I pity the fool.
no. I actually messaged Archetype and I was like, bro, you know, I've been trading for decades. Let me give you some heads up. Kaspa's about to crash. Back off the buying. And he was like, no. He actually blocked me. It was a private message. I was just doing it on the down low. And so we find the x-axis trend line and it dumps. Using the y-axis with it, we came up with 12.5 was our original buying plan. 50 days in advance. So pretty spooky stuff. Great for when the bull market happens. So the projects that we want to get in right now and get exposure to are the projects that are going to create and foster investments for the final level. The really risk-on guys that are going to end up probably not taking a win in crypto. They're going to get in and it's going to be super gambly with these type of projects, with your strong blocks, with your horde NFT game staking. And it's all in the hands of the FOMC with the quantitative easing. But this is BlackRock's big day, man. This is the debut, the release of cryptocurrency to the entire world. So the stakes are high. And they want it to do well because they want to use crypto. Obviously, we know its power. If it gets in the hands of the wrong guy, like Kim Jong-un can put all of his citizens on a social credit score where everything they ever do, everyone they talk to, every train they ride, every time they eat a meal, it's recorded on the blockchain. And then your social credit score is dished out. And of course, BlackRock wants to utilize this to make money. They're not going full Kim Jong-un, but they have their own plans. Yes, there was a lot of people that were getting behind the breakout, and that's where this comes in. So this was VIP only. So everybody who we had stacked into leverage trades, we got everybody in on cold storage right here, and then we got everybody in on leverage trades at 11.5 and 13.3. Why did we go right there? It's because of this X and Y axis trend line. And so our original hypothesis was the FOMC could cut rates here, and we would get a breakout above the Y axis upside with monetary policy, but we did a stop loss inside VIP. Right here. This is from the stop loss post. So, yeah, markets are dynamic. Anything can happen. And like we just said, the FOMC is controlling the game. So when the Bank of Japan steps up and does that, and they can do that at any time. One of the other things we do in VIP is we not only track American, but we track global monetary policy now and incorporate trading plans to that. So good save there. But yeah, nobody has a total crystal ball because we don't know what the FOMC is going to do. But we can build our models like we were talking about. Nobody knows how high Kaspa will go in the bull market, but we can build a very accurate model knowing our FOMC data. Yeah, Tao's about to take a dipperooski. And then that will be a good buying opportunity. Now, historically, DEAI was moving in tandem with Tau, going pretty good side by side, which is nice. Yes, well, here's another factor, Mr. Miles. I'll actually give you personally and you only $10,000 in cash. This is official. If you can find one VIP group that has made more profits than the accumulation of all our trades since the Bank of Japan carry trade. Because guess what? Nobody did. You want to know how we know? Because all of our carry trades were the best in the entire market. We had like the top 10 carry trades. So we are crushing it across the board. And I've been into the other VIP groups. They suck. They don't even know what an FOMC is, dude. So I know you're probably somebody who's taking an L right now. I can tell by your tone. And I'm trying to block you out of here because we don't like losers around. They have bad vibes and it's just really like, ugh. But I'll get into blocking you later because you don't want to be around losers when the bull market's kicking off. Whenever you see someone with bad vibes like, oh, this and this, just get them out of your head. We've got to start preparing mentally and surrounding ourselves with winners. Getting in a winning community is so important. It's indefinitely part of success with anything. Being inside of this high tower that I live in has been massively helpful for my personal growth because I'm surrounded by like these crypto OGs, guys that are like way back in the day. I mean, way back in the day. Okay, sweet. And we have, you got to watch out for those type of people. You know what I'm saying? I always like constructive criticism and people that make good points. But when you have people going around being like, oh, yeah, let's go with Archetype and Crypto John. Those guys are just goofy. They're kind of losers. I mean, we have the best swing trade plans in the entire market right in front of you. You didn't take them, did you? You degen. Well, that's on you, bro. Ugh. Yeah, and preparing mentally for this bull run is going to make a difference. Eating your Wheaties, taking your vitamins, waking up early, and most important of all, writing everything down. Have you guys even drafted a take profit plan yet? Do you have it in writing? I'm going to do this. I'm looking for this. We have these crazy theories that we just got together inside of VIP. Let me open up one of these. Let me open up one of these community chats and pull up one of these. Okay, here we go. So what we're talking about here is this game theory. We'll put this on ChatGPT because that's where it originally came from. And this will help us a lot with the understanding of diversification. What it breaks down is this, and this is just a simplified version of it. What we're working on with artificial intelligence is taking this to the top level to understand, well, we all want a dollar cost average out of our position. What's the maximum number, the most efficient amount of times we should dollar cost average? Also, when you're building a portfolio, and this is the basic of this entire theory, how many positions should you have? Now, obviously, we go through all these written systems like the 24-point checklist, the origin trendline repeating system to get ourselves as close to finding the ones that are going to give us the most upside as possible and selling the top with our monetary policy connections and everything. But there is an element of chaos here. And in that chaos, math sets the guidelines. And just like when you're playing poker, if anyone has experience doing that, when you follow the construction of math correctly, whether it's a very complex model like we're going to get into, or it's just simple by playing the best cards in the best positions, you'll see it starts to affect the outcome of the game. So what we're talking about here is, and before we give the answer, let's just lay out what it's all about. Is it more profitable to own one position that's going to do a 20x and dollar cost out of it 4 times as it's peaking? Or is it more profitable to own 4 positions that will, on average, perform 20x and dollar cost out of each one of those 4 times? So this includes the ones that are, your more solid picks, and then your moonshot 100x degen bag. Which one of those models do we think is the most profitable? Anyone have a guess? It's 1. By far. On average, 1 yields a 15x. The more you're diversifying your bag, the more you're exposing yourself to less gains. There's tons of content creators, even Archie, who go over the fact that you don't want to spread your portfolio out thin. Now start to add on the factors that suddenly you've got to follow all the news and current events, study the chart, know the patterns that typically occur on them. Now you've got a whole new factor that's going to even enhance this. So we're talking about, for a 3.75x in a 20x model, going with 1 pick is the best. And now we can go even deeper in this, and we're building and working on models right now for VIP. How many times should we dollar cost out while it's peaking, and get a whole range of models where this is more risk on, this is more risk out, and this is the sweet spot? Because what you'll find, just like in poker, is that math is going to play a part here. Meanwhile, we've done the best possible research we can. We've done all the technical analysis we can, but there's still an element of chaos to it. And this is where math is so key. Kaspa is a beast, and it is poised for monster upside. Just ridiculous breakout. So we're good to go here. Everybody's got their bags packed, and we've got the big news up and coming. The Kaspa KRC20, the Kraken listing about to take place on Monday. So super good stuff. The super cycle is on the table. It can happen. We're going to get a good bull market either way, but there is a scenario. There are probabilities that we get right around, let's say, late summer, early fall. Now the bull market's already starting to pick up. The run up is already kicking off, correlating the treasury bond unlocks, the quantitative easing, all into our charts, which is something that we really can't find on social media for crypto. If we look hard enough, you can find this for the stock market. It's actually very common. But because the prior cycle was just so bullish, People are overlooking it, and they've already built models that just aren't performing as well as this one. It's just a fact. Right around the fall, FOMC kicks on quantitative easing.
Exciting now.
It's going to go supersonic. And the guys that are working hand over fist, Elon Musk and Vivek, looking at Tesla, obviously they're going to benefit from this massively as it's all interconnected. So for anybody who this is all new to them, they haven't heard of FOMC, they don't understand quantitative easing or a super cycle, make sure you hit subscribe, hit thumbs up, because remember, every single dollar that you're up, somebody's down. So we're separating the winners from the losers here, guys. And you want to be on the winning team. And the losers, like we've seen all over social media, will do anything in their power to hold a winner down with them. They're just like that. It's just human emotion. So you got to be above that. Fitness helps. Eating well helps. If you're in better shape than people, you can just look at them and be like, great. You really respect your tempo. It's a great foundation to get in the right headspace to defeat, because that's who we're playing against. This is a poker table. We're sitting at a poker table and you're hearing other people at the table. Everyone's trying to win, but it's not just retail versus retail. It's the FOMC. It's the investment bankers, the miners, the exchanges. There's a whole slew of players. And the guys with the biggest stack of chips, central banks and FOMC, they're the ones that everybody's not paying attention to on social media. And once you hone in on them, this system is top of the line. I'm just an everyday trader who is fortunate enough to be exposed to this information, which will literally make you a millionaire eventually. It's just a matter of time. When I originally stepped up, I showed you guys that AVAX short. I had $12,500 in the online bag just to show you can become a millionaire with $10,500. That's how much it costs to enter a poker game. This is the first double up we got in Kaspa. So we started with the 12,500. We did the AVAX short, stacking in with high leverage. When did we do it? While the FOMC was raising rates. What was everybody else on social media, and I mean everybody else, doing? It's altcoin season. Let's get some altcoins while the FOMC is raising the rates. Quantifiably wrong to the next level of wrong. Watch your favorite creators or watch Altcoin Daily, Crypto Banter. That's what they did. They went long there. And then we flipped all those profits into Kaspa. That Kaspa bag right now is like $250,000. So I need a 4x to make $1 million off 10,000 bucks. And it's all on video. And the biggest signal for me on Kaspa was nothing to do with block DAG. I'd already heard of Constellation, so I knew that was hot. It was this, the FOMC stuff. Right there, Kaspa was ramping up. Let's look at the MEC chart because it has more ticker, more tape. Kaspa was, of course, it had some downside from the announcement, but while this big leg down happened right here, where the investment bankers signaled by their buddies at the poker table, they said, oh, We're raising rates 25 points. Everybody's thinking, oh, it's only 25 points. It's not going to do anything, bro. As soon as they signal that, just like the peak here, November 2021, as soon as they give that signal, it's over. It's all over. So you don't have to worry about getting excited for the quantitative easing, or excuse me, the super cycle, because we know when it's over. They'll give the signal right at the poker table. And I guarantee you right now, 75 to 90% of social media will have no idea what's happening when it's going down. They will see this as a discount opportunity. That's what they did last cycle. While that was going down, Kaspa was showing stability and even upside. And that's telling that Kaspa's directly correlated to this bond market, which means big players are on board. Now, it's very easy for me to say that today because we've already confirmed it was Marathon Digital. It was BlackRock. It was the biggest dogs on the street. They were the ones buying it because of Marathon Digital's mining. But because we know this system and have traded with it for a while, we got in, and there was like nobody doing Kaspa back here. I hear you guys about mining Kaspa. Awesome. Congratulations. But in terms of traders buying it, the narrative all across social media was started by this guy called Son of a Tech. He's a miner. And what they were saying is the ASICs will crash the price, which is nonsensical as well. And it was only Galaxy, Kaspa Silver, and Crypto John and myself. We were literally the only 4 people on social media making videos about Kaspa, bullishly. That was it. And everybody else was just dissing us, like on this total hate parade. Like, you thought it was bad this time? That's nothing compared to how it was before. I mean, they were kicking us badly, and we won. And it's been happening over and over again. This one wasn't so bad. This one got really bad during the head here, on the head and shoulders, but we were buying the whole time. And then this one, start buying here, and then obviously here. Not buying here, which is where all the goofy guys did. I don't know how they got into that. So something to be aware of, something to study is monetary policy, because knowing this will change your life. Absolutely. Absolutely will change your life. Thanks for checking out this video, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.
Read Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Every battle is won before it's ever fought. Think about it.